Hey guys, it's Nephis here, and today I'm going to be showing you my build for my Necromancer tank, main tank, and Veteran Asylum Sanctorium +2 hard mode. A lot of you guys have been requesting me to make a video showing how I achieve my stats and so on for this fight, for this trial, on my Necromancer main tank, so here we are. The next Necromancer build video I am going to be doing is the off-tank spec for the same trial, for the same hard mode fight, so stay tuned, like and subscribe, yada yada yada, and the video after that I will be doing a general dungeon build video for my Necromancer tank, for you guys to enjoy and to use in dungeons and form. So stay tuned for that as well. Other than that, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is what am I? First of all, I'm a Imperial. You can be a Breton, you can be a Nord, you can be whatever you want, honestly. It almost really doesn't matter, but Imperial because Imperials give essentially still slightly more health than Nords do, and Necromancer as a class rewards you as a tank class for having a good amount of health. So my ferrets are scratching themselves in the cage. But anyway, and also Imperials also get a good amount of stamina as well, which is pretty nice for your sustain. Vampirism, I do recommend it. I just tried without Vampirism, it's fine still, but I definitely, Undeath is, without Undeath it's a noticeable difference when you get to lower health. So I do recommend Vampirism. And for food, Tri-Stat food, the typical Tri-Stat food, and Mundus Stone is the Lord. Remember, we're sort of trying to make Necromancer tanks as a concept class have really high health and also a decent amount of magic recovery. So the Tri-Stat food and Lord Mundus will definitely help us out with the max health, 48.1k max health. A lot of people will argue with me, well, I've tanked this trial as a main tank in medium armor, light armor, whatever. I can roll, but at the end of the day, you're just there. You're just the many puzzle pieces in this hard mode fight to just hold the boss and not die. So really, there's no real need to complicate things, in my opinion, to dodge roll and mistakenly put Olms as lightning AoEs on exit side or entrance side, or just risk it for the biscuit. You really don't. You're just a damage sponge in this fight. It's very boring, obviously, but it will do what it do. So we got 48.1k health. And max magic of 17k. It's a decent pull for not spamming, but using your abilities. Necromancer as a tank class is very intensive, and we have a 19.5k max stam. Magic recovery unbuffed without the Spirit Mender or the potion buff is 1200. It's actually pretty decent for that. And resistances wise, it's pretty much this. 21.9k spell resistance, and we have 20,000 physical resistance, and this is unbuffed without Major Ward, Major Resolve. So let's move on. Gear wise, we're going to be doing 2 Vicosa, and a lot of people are confused as to why not Blood Spawn to pump out more horns, or Earth Core to save yourself, whatever. So Vicosa is really good for this fight, especially on Olms. So Vicosa applies Major Maim. And you guys have to remember they changed it from the initial set bonus of if you taunt the target, you apply Major Maim, to bashing the target to apply Major Maim. So it's pretty good. You can time the Major Maim. 3 seconds may not sound like a very long time to apply the Major Maim, but in this specific fight, in the Asylum Sanctorium hard mode, 3 seconds is enough for a lot of crucial mechanics. So the Major Maim, Minor Maim, whatever will actually affect pretty much everything that comes out of St. Olms. His lightning AoEs, Storm the Heavens, his jumps, the Firebomb AoEs that expand and put dots on people. It affects pretty much literally everything that comes out from him. And this is because Major Maim, Minor Maim only affects the damage sourced from the target. So let's say Olms, his Storm the Heavens, didn't come out from him. Let's say it came out from these walls here, the environment. Then yes, Major Maim wouldn't help because it's not really coming from him. And the Major Maim is really noticeable, especially for DPS. I've DPS this fight, and in an Immortal Redeemer run, I stood in 2, which is not recommended normally, 2 of the fire AoEs during execute. and it didn't even hurt me. It didn't burn through my shield. That's how powerful Major Meme is, stacked on top of Minor Meme. That's literally if almost 50% damage reduction, and that's not even taking into account your shield resistance as a Magicka DPS, your base resistance as a Magicka or Stam DPS, whether you're blocking, and so on and so on. So it's a really good set to have, and if you are specifically gonna go for no death achievement like your Mortal Redeemer in here, then yes, I do highly recommend Vycosa. Otherwise though, you don't really need any other set as a tank. Sure, Blood Spawn's cool and nice, gives you nice more ult, more horns, but some of the times your team won't be close enough to you for you to apply the major force, especially when they're kiting. So this actually ends up backlogging your horn rotation sometimes as a group. So honestly, Vycosa is the way to go. I highly recommend it. 5-piece Taurings. So 5-piece Taurings, reason why we're wearing Taurings here, and we have been since Clockwork City patch as tanks, obviously is for the added penetration we can apply with Crusher, and also the cooldown it affects. It's pretty damn nice to have, and also it's not a bad set to have in here. You get more max health on the 1-piece bonus, and on the 4-piece bonus you get more spell resistance. So that's pretty fucking nice in here, because you are most of the damage in here, except Olms' swipes and Felms' light attacks, they are Magicka based damage, so it's pretty damn nice. And of course, for our secondary 5-piece, we have Alkash, which is pretty standard because you're getting pretty much almost all the synergies from the tank healer who's kiting the AoEs here, and if there's a Sork on your group, putting Liquid Lightning on you, and so on and so on. So Alkash is definitely a must, because the debuff alone, like the penetration, it's a lot. You cannot underestimate Alkash, and it provides a huge damage boost for your group. And what's special about my Alkash setup is that I have healthy traded jewelry, and that's how I'm getting to such a high max health amount. And again, people are going to be like, oh, you don't need 38k health, you only need 20k health, whatever, to attain goals. But this is just preferably what I want to do. I just want to stand there and block and debuff, and I mean, at the end of the day, that's pretty much it for this fight. You're literally just there to hold Olms and stand there and not die and provide debuffs and buffs for your group. So I mean, if you guys want a different play style, there are other YouTube guides and great guides out there that will have medium armor guides. But this is basically my setup: three healthy jewelry on Alkash. Enchantment wise, it's Magicka recovery on all 3 of them. Enchantment wise on the armor, it doesn't really matter, but for right now I have 2 infused, chest and legs, Hakejo, prismatic enchantments, and on every other piece we have health enchantments. And it's going to be a 5-1-1 setup, meaning I'm going to be wearing 5 pieces of heavy armor, so the Vycosa, and these 4 things are heavy, have a medium belt and light shoulders, and this is going to give us more max stats for health, magic, and stamina through the Undaunted Metal passive, which I also highly recommend getting. And this will also help play into your sustain and your survivability. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the gear. This is what you would definitely run as a main tank for most groups. Other than that, I am going to be explaining why I don't have sturdy pieces. So you don't really block too much. Like, you only really block Olms' swipes. Sure, you can just keep holding block and that'll drain your stam a little faster, but even then, he has so many mechanics that he does. He has lined up what I would like to refer to as a queue of animations. He has a queue of animations lined up. The lower his health is. So by the time he gets to 25%, he's not going to just be doing Storm the Heavens and what have you. He's going to be doing the fire bombs, which will delay the next mechanic he does by quite a bit. So he's not really going to be swiping you 100% of the time, or even 60% of the time. So you don't really need to be perma-blocking. You don't need sturdy at all. And what this will help us do is we're gonna have divine pieces, which will help us boost our Lord Mundus by pretty much over 3,000 health. And this is gonna play into, again, high health for high rewards for a necro tank. And the 3 magic recovery and chance on jewelry will help out with the 1200 magic reco. And again, remember this is without potion buff or the wraith buff. So I'm going to be showing you guys what it looks like fully buffed. Here's the wraith for the 200 magic reco. Here's the potion. And we're almost at 1700 magic reco. And you're going to pretty much be having this guy up all the time. You're going to be having a potion most of the time. So this is going to be pretty much your magic reco, and it's pretty nice to sustain. You can literally do a lot of these skills without any worries about sustaining. And that's pretty much it. And speaking of skills, we're going to be going over the bars here real quick, and I'll be explaining why we're doing these bars. So the first skill, Unnerving Boneyard. It's a nice synergy to have. It also afflicts Major Breach and Major Fracture. While yes, you can do Pierce Armor, it's still a nice burst heal for yourself, because you have to remember that if someone synergizes this, it does onto the targets in it, will heal you for the amount of damage done. So sometimes, you know, let's say Olms is on me, and his hitbox is pretty fucking huge. So you can put your Unnerving Boneyard here or wherever. Okay, I pulled him. And you can have DPS come in and apply their dots or whatever, and they'll synergize it. It's a nice burst heal. Also, it will touch him, and it will apply Major Breach and Major Fracture. So this will actually help out with both the Stam and Mag DPS in your composition, either or. Other than that, this is why we also have Ransack instead of Pierce Armoring. So as a Necromancer tank, you really don't have the innate resistances that Dragon Knights or even Templar tanks have. Like Dragon Knights, they automatically get bit more spell resistance from their Draconic passives, I believe. While Necromancers, if you look through the passives, sure, you have some basic mitigation, like taking less damage from dots by 10% and having more health and stuff, but that's not really resistance mitigation. That's just kind of mitigation. But yeah, so the reason why we don't have Pierce Armor is because we already have a source of Major Breach and Major Fracture. And Ransack, it gives us Minor Resolve, which increases our physical resistance by 1320. That's basically 2% more mitigation against physical based damage, which Olms is. As a main tank in the Asylum Sanctorium hard mode, Olms is your main threat. There's real no point, like if you keep dying to Olms, there's no real point. And while resistances may not be the end all be all for tanks, it's still nice to have. Dead and Pain, really good passive slot to have, really good skill to have, considering you're going to be using 2 skills that are going to be giving you corpses. So you're going to be generating at least 4 ult on expiration of these skills, or if you recast them at less than half remaining, you can get the ult regen early on. You can even time the ult gen by casting them at less than half their duration. And I touched on this in my original Necromancer Ultimate Guide video, and you can check that out in the upper right corner if you'd like. But if you recast the Bone Armor or the Wraith at less than half their duration, you get the corpse. If you recast it too early, you don't get the corpse. So this is pretty nice to have, because you can actually have Major Protection with Dead and Pain. And you can time your Major Protection, because the Major Protection only lasts as long as the duration of Death and Pain. So in this case, it's going to be about, let's see, about like 4 to 6 seconds. So again, the passive 3% damage mitigation you get from just slotting it on your Sword and Board bar, that's another source of mitigation we're going to have. Heroic Slash, there's no real need to be using the Magicka-based skill, what is it, where is it? Ghostly Embrace. It's kind of a Magicka drain, so Heroic Slash, you're not really doing much with your stam anyway, besides taunting and applying Minor Maim. Everything else is a Magicka skill, as you can see. So Heroic Slash is actually also going to be giving you a source of Minor Heroism, giving you more ultimate generation, which is pretty damn nice as a Necromancer tank, because as you know, these ultimates are pretty expensive. And also, in addition to the ultimate generation you get from Death and Pain, it's pretty nice to have. So yeah, you'll have a pretty much near constant source of Minor Maim and Minor Heroism. And this is, I would highly suggest using this over the Necromancer Minor Maim skill. Hungry Scythe. Now, Hungry Scythe is a very good burst heal. It's probably the best burst heal for Necromancer tank. A lot of people keep asking me, well, what about that other skill, the Render Flesh? Well, no, it's a pretty bad heal. It's a pretty bad heal to use on yourself. So I definitely would not recommend Render Flesh. So go with Hungry Scythe, and again, this scales off of your max health. And this plays into what I said earlier about Necromancers being rewarded for higher health. So the higher your health is, the stronger this heal is. And that's why we have such a ludicrous amount of health. And for your ultimate on the front bar, just to make sure you don't get one-shotted while you're transforming into the Goliath, as it's not an immediate cast time, you can't block it. You can't block during it or whatever. We have Ravenous Goliath. This is pretty much used as an oh shit button, similar to the Magma Shell on the Dragon Knight classes, and it's pretty insane. You don't really have to block ulms while you're in this form. Let me just show you guys how much health you can have. And this is without minor toughness or anything, or a horn. So you have 88.9 thousand health for 20 something seconds. And it's like, okay, you're literally unkillable. So this is a good ultimate to have just as a sort of an emergency backup. But otherwise, you'll mostly be using your aggressive horn instead. So on the back bar, we have Agony Totem. This is debatable. If you want the minor protection just for yourself for more mitigation against ulms, you can. Otherwise, this is sort of a flex spot here. Expunge and Modify, it's your personal purge. And the nice thing about this is it's very applicable in Asylum Sanctorium, because Lotus, his cone will eventually target you as a main tank, whether it's on you or on someone towards you. It's a very nice skill to have. It gives us sustain by giving us literally 1,000 magic and stamina every time we use it, per status effect removed specifically, and also gives us 3% cost reduction to all the abilities on our back bar. So it's not just Necromancer abilities that are affected by 3% cost reduction, but it's also the ultimate cost and the Blockade of Storms cost from the Destruction Staff skill line. That's pretty nice. It's pretty nice to have. While you can argue that, hey, why not just use Purge for the group? You can. Maybe that could be the replacement for that slot here. Doesn't really matter. So Blockade of Storms, I mean, it's really up to you. So basically, use a Lightning Staff to keep up your Crusher enchant, and also apply Off Balance if your raid composition is Stam, like Stam Bobo DPS builds in the Asylum Sanctorium. Or you can use an Ice Staff. I mean, either or doesn't really matter in the end, but I just prefer Lightning Staff anyway, even if it's a Magicka DPS composition. Off Balance still grants Magicka DPS, even if they're not spec'd into 75 in the DOM or something like that. Additional resources upon a heavy attack. So it's up to you. You can also do a bow on the back bar, but that's sort of a stam drain, so again, it's up to you. It really shouldn't be a stam drain in here, especially. Beckoning Armor, people are asking me why aren't you using Balance instead, because Beckoning Armor just sort of plays into the Necromancer class. I mean, you're gonna want more than one corpse or Death and Pain. It's gonna give you a longer duration of major protection and more ult gen. So this is gonna be our Major War, Major Resolve. Stats wise, it's gonna look like this in the end. It still looks pretty low, but again, at the same time, you don't really need 33,000, 32,000 resistances, and this is enough, more than enough to tank all blocking. And the last skill we're gonna have is a Spirit Guardian. Again, we're gonna be having this as a poor man's guard. No one's going to be guarding you except the Spirit Guardian. 10% of the damage you take is transferred to this guy, this little. Also, if we look at the passive here, he also gives us 200 Magicka recovery and 200 stamina recovery while the little guy is up. He's so cute. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how it all comes together, guys. And we're going to be looking at CP as a last thing. So red CP, I'm going to be honest with you here. CP for the main tank, honestly, sort of doesn't matter beyond the 81 points in the Ironclad. It's a heavy amount of mitigation against the direct damage you take from Olms. So 81 points in Ironclad, and after that you can do like an even split of 49 Hardy, 49 Ellie. However, you still do take a good amount of magic damage from Storm to Heavens and so on. So I put more into Elemental Defender, but again, doesn't really make a difference. The 61 in Thick Skin, it's kind of debatable for Necromancer, because you get this passive, Disdain Harm. It reduces the damage you take from dots by 10% if you have a Bone Tyrant ability active. So if I have this armor up or the totem up or whatever, I am getting a free 10% damage reduction against dots. And there aren't that many dots in the Asylum Sanctorium hard mode fight, except Lothus Cone's Defile effect, the Fire Dot effect, and the Steam Breath from Olms. So the Thick Skin can be as low as 15% for a Necro tank, in my opinion. And that's pretty much it. And whatever points you have left from the Thick Skin, you can put the rest into Heavy Armor focus. You don't really need Quick Recovery in the Asylum Sanctorium hard mode as a main tank, because you do get a pretty good amount of health received bonuses. Health average gives you 6% more healing received. Also, there's, I believe, another passive that gives you more healing as well, over here somewhere. Or maybe not, actually. I kind of forgot. But anyway, you don't really need healing received, even if you are defiled by Lothus, because remember, you have a personal purge, expunge, and modify. And that is pretty much it for the red CP. And Heavy Armor focus is going to help you, basic mitigation against Olms swipes, which a lot of main tanks, a lot of people new to tanking this place have trouble with. They are really afraid of the Olm swipe. So if this will help you more, feel free to put a bit more into it from Thick Skin as a Necro main tank. Green Tree, literally nothing to Warlord, nothing to Sprinter, nothing to Bashing Focus. It's literally nothing there. You don't need it. You will and you should never be CC'd. The only CC in here that may affect you is getting too close to Lothus, and no one bashing is interruptible. But you literally don't need it. You don't need any break free cost reduction. 75 Arcanist, debatable if you should even put 75 in the Arcanist, but there's nothing else to really put in for VAS Hardman as a main tank. So 75 in the Arcanist, and anything beyond that is irrelevant. We have 44 Tenacity, 51 Tumbling, and 100 Shadow Ward. You don't really need 100. You don't even really need 100 Shadow Ward, even if you don't have sturdy pieces. But again, we literally don't have anything else to put into, because literally this tree is completely empty. So we have a lot of extra points. So do what you need to do. That's pretty much it. And we have the blue tree. This is also a matter of debate. You have a basic heal setup for yourself. Blessed still affects your Scythe and so on. It's still a magic ability. You can crit the heals. One thing I will mention, two things I will mention. You'll definitely want Last Stand. When you fall below 20% health, you gain Major Heroism. Granting 3 ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 8 seconds, occurs every 20 seconds. So this is if you get really low, you might get saved by Last Stand. Let's say you're barely just a little bit away from proccing Ravenous Goliath in like a progression group or something. Last Stand will definitely help you out there if you're close to dying. Other than that, the second thing I want to mention is Tactician. I know some tanks in the past have put 120 points into the Atronac for Tactician. So this is debatable. If you have a Stam DPS composition, then do it. You just dodge roll the Steam Breath and you get, or dodge roll a swipe or two, and you'll put Olms off balance. But other than that, I don't really see a need for it. You'll still have a lightning staff and so on, even if you do have a Stam DPS composition, but this is solely up to you. I just put 30 points into the Atro just for the repost. I mean, it's just free damage. You're pretty much be blocking most of the time on Olms. So that's pretty much it for the CP. It's kind of pretty straightforward. for the Necro main thing. Nothing special. And that is pretty much it, guys. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know down in the comments below. I will be glad to answer them. If you guys have any questions about the Necromancer in general, again, I've provided a link below to my first Necro guide in the description as well. And as always, stay safe, have fun, and see you guys next time.